Punch had been unusually quiet since morning. Normally, even when he tried to act brave, there was always something playful in his eyes. A tiny spark, a little curiosity whenever footsteps approached or familiar voices echoed through the zoo paths. But today felt different from the moment the sun rose above the trees. He kept looking toward the same direction over and over again. Waiting, watching, listening. The other monkeys moved around normally. Some groomed each other under the warm sunlight. Some chased one another playfully across the wooden platforms. The keepers cleaned the area like always, speaking softly as they worked. Everything looked ordinary, but for Punch, nothing felt normal. Because one person was missing, Miyakoshi, the caregiver who had become one of the safest people in his small world. First, Punch tried to stay calm. He sat quietly near the fence, holding onto the little blanket he often carried when he felt nervous. Every few minutes, he stood up suddenly, peeking toward the entrance as if he had heard something familiar. But every time his shoulders slowly dropped again. It wasn't Miyakoshi. The hours passed slowly, too slowly, and little by little the anxiety started growing inside him. The younger monkeys nearby eventually became distracted with food and games, but Punch couldn't focus on anything. Even his favorite snack stayed untouched beside him. He picked one up once, stared at it blankly, then gently put it back down. His eyes kept searching, as if he was asking the same silent question again and again. "Where are you?" A keeper softly called his name while setting fresh fruit near him. But Punch barely reacted. Instead, he walked toward the gate once more and sat there quietly, waiting. Some animals express sadness loudly. Others become completely silent. Punch was the second kind, and somehow, that silence hurt even more. The afternoon breeze moved gently through the trees overhead. Shadows shifted across the ground while visitors passed by outside the enclosure. Some noticed the tiny monkey sitting alone near the gate. "He looks sad today," one visitor whispered softly. Another pointed out how often Punch kept staring toward the staff pathway, almost like a child waiting for a parent to come home. As time passed, Punch's movements became smaller and slower. Eventually, he curled up near the wooden post beside the entrance path, still facing the same direction, still hoping. Every tiny sound made him lift his head. Footsteps, voices, a door opening somewhere in the distance. Each time his eyes widened for just a moment before fading again. It had happened before. People leaving, people disappearing. Even though Punch had found love and care after being rescued, some part of his tiny heart still remembered what abandonment felt like. And when someone important disappeared unexpectedly, even for a few hours, that fear quietly returned. The fear that maybe they weren't coming back. As evening slowly approached, the sky turned softer and golden light spilled across the enclosure. One of the older monkeys approached Punch carefully. For a moment, it looked like they might groom him gently, but Punch barely responded. His attention remained fixed on the pathway, still waiting for one person. Then suddenly, a familiar sound, soft footsteps, a familiar voice speaking quietly with the staff. Punch froze. His ears twitched first. Then his head lifted instantly. For 1 second, he didn't move at all, almost as if he was afraid to believe it. Then he saw him, Miyakoshi, standing near the entrance at last. The reaction was immediate. Punch stood up so quickly that his little blanket slipped from his hands onto the ground. His eyes widened completely, filled with sudden emotion and relief all at once. And then he ran. Not slowly, not cautiously. He sprinted as fast as his tiny body could carry him, straight toward Miyakoshi. The caregivers nearby smiled softly the moment they saw him running, because they understood immediately. Punch had been waiting all day. The moment he reached the fence, he grabbed onto it tightly, making soft emotional cries that sounded almost impossible to hold back. His whole body trembled with excitement and relief. Miyakoshi quickly knelt down beside him. "I'm here," the caregiver whispered gently, and the moment Punch heard that familiar calm voice up close, something inside him broke. His tiny hands reached desperately toward Miyakoshi through the fence while tears slowly filled his eyes. Not loud crying, not dramatic, just quiet tears sliding down while his breathing became shaky, as if all the fear he had carried the entire day finally melted at once. The caregiver gently touched his little hand, and Punch immediately pressed closer, almost desperately, like he needed to make sure Miyakoshi was truly real and not disappearing again. Visitors nearby became emotional watching the reunion unfold, because it didn't look like an animal greeting a caretaker. It looked like a child finally finding comfort again after a terrifying day of waiting alone. Miyakoshi kept speaking softly to him. "You waited for me? You were worried? It's okay now." And every word seemed to calm Punch little by little. The tiny monkey slowly rested his head against the fence while holding onto Miyakoshi's fingers tightly, refusing to let go, as if letting go meant losing him again. The keepers later explained that Miyakoshi had simply been delayed unexpectedly that day. But Punch didn't understand schedules. He didn't understand delays. He only understood presence and absence. To a small heart that once knew loneliness too well, even a few missing hours could feel endless, especially when the person you trust most suddenly isn't there. As the sun began disappearing beyond the trees, Punch finally relaxed for the first time all day. His breathing slowed, his shoulders loosened, the tension in his tiny face softened completely. Miyakoshi stayed beside him quietly, continuing to comfort him with gentle words and soft touches. And little by little, Punch's eyes began growing sleepy, emotionally exhausted after hours of silent worry. At one point, he reached down and picked up his little blanket again before sitting beside the fence near Miyakoshi. This time differently, not anxiously, not fearfully, but peacefully, safe again. The visitors who remained nearby spoke in hushed voices, many unable to stop watching the touching moment. One woman quietly wiped tears from her eyes. Another whispered, "He really loves him." And it was true. The bond between them had become something incredibly deep, not built through force, not built overnight, but through consistency, gentleness, patience, the kind of care that slowly teaches a frightened heart how to trust again. Punch leaned quietly against the fence while Miyakoshi stayed close beside him. No more panic, no more searching, just relief, pure relief. And maybe that was what made the moment so emotional, because sometimes comfort isn't loud. Sometimes comfort is simply the return of someone who promised they would come back. For Punch, that return meant everything. As darkness slowly covered the zoo and the evening lights flickered softly nearby, Punch looked calmer than he had all day, still holding his blanket, still staying close, still watching Miyakoshi carefully, almost as if he wanted to memorize every second now that he was finally back. And before the night fully settled in, Punch quietly closed his eyes beside the fence. Safe, comforted, no longer alone. What if the most heartbreaking thing you ever saw wasn't crying, wasn't screaming, wasn't any kind of obvious pain at all? What if the most heartbreaking thing was a tiny monkey who had spent years learning not to need anyone, suddenly wrapping his arms around someone and refusing to let go? Because that's what happened today. And the people who saw it, the visitors, the keepers, the ones who have watched Punch since the very beginning, went quiet. Not the quiet of boredom, the quiet of people who have just witnessed something that reached straight past their defenses and squeezed. Because this wasn't a cute moment. This wasn't an animal being playful. This was something older than that, something more desperate than that. This was a baby who once had nothing and found something and held on to it with everything he had. If you're new to Punch's story, you need to understand something before we go any further. Because without the before, the after is just a sweet moment. With the before, it becomes something that stays with you. We remember the old Punch, and honestly, remembering hurts a little every time. We remember a baby so small, so uncertain, so visibly fragile, that watching him move through Monkey Mountain felt like watching someone walk through a world built for everyone except them. He had arrived without the one thing baby monkeys cannot develop without: a mother. Not just the warmth of her, not just the comfort of her, but the entire architecture of safety that a mother builds. The nervous system regulation, the social learning, the fundamental cellular understanding. That the world is not a threat, that someone is here, that you are held. Punch didn't get that, and so he built himself differently. He built himself around absence, around alertness, around the quiet, exhausting vigilance of an animal who has learned that the safest assumption is that nothing lasts. We remember how he found Orang Mom, that old, soft, worn stuffed toy that Punch pressed himself against in the long, uncertain hours, when the loneliness became too heavy to carry alone. Think about that for a moment. Really think about it. A living baby, warm and breathing and full of need, pressing himself against something that couldn't feel him because there was nothing else available. Finding the shape of comfort in something that couldn't offer it back. That image is important. Hold on to it, because it tells you exactly where Punch started, and it makes where he arrived today almost impossible to absorb. Nobody planned for Miyakoshi to become what he became to Punch. That's not how these things work. They don't announce themselves. They don't arrive with significance already attached. At first, Miyakoshi was simply one of the people, one of the familiar figures moving through Punch's days. Calm, gentle, unhurried, not doing anything remarkable, just present, just consistent, just there. And here is what most people don't understand about what consistency does to a traumatized animal. It doesn't just provide comfort, it rewrites something deep in the nervous system, in the part of the brain that was shaped by early experience, that was written during the period when Punch was absorbing the world's most fundamental lesson. Is this place safe, or isn't it? Something begins slowly to shift. Each time Miyakoshi appeared, and nothing bad happened. Each time Miyakoshi came close, and Punch's heart rate could slow instead of rise. Each time Miyakoshi left, and then came back, a small correction was written into Punch's understanding of the world. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, persistent rewriting. People can be safe. Warmth doesn't always disappear. Someone can come back. day by day, week by week, return by return, until one day, without ceremony, without either of them marking the moment, Miyakoshi stopped being just a keeper and became something that Punch's entire broken, rebuilt, still healing heart had organized itself around. Safety, home, the person you run toward, instead of away from. This day started quietly, the way days do when they don't yet know what they're about to become. The zoo moved through its morning. The sounds of routine, the warmth of ordinary time, the easy rhythms of animals who feel no particular urgency. Punch was nearby, watching, moving in that particular way of his, curious but careful, open but alert, still carrying, even now, even after everything, that faint background hum of watchfulness that never quite left him. And if you looked at his eyes, really looked, you could see it. He was waiting for someone. We know that expression by now. The slight pause in movement, the way his head lifts just a degree, the eyes that travel a specific direction, with a focus that isn't general curiosity. It's targeted. It's searching for one thing specifically, one person, one presence, one particular quality of safety that nothing else in his environment provides. And then, movement, familiar movement, the particular way a specific person moves, when you know them well enough that your body recognizes them before your mind has finished processing. Blue clothing, calm energy, unhurried, Miyakoshi, and something happened in Punch, in the fraction of a second between recognition and response, that we will never be able to fully see, but that every single person watching felt, because it was visible in his body, before he had even moved a step, a kind of unlocking, a kind of release, the way a creature looks, when the thing it has been quietly, unconsciously braced for all day, turns out to be fine, turns out to be here, turns out to be safe. He moved fast, not the cautious, measured movement of a monkey navigating uncertain social territory. Fast, the way you move when hesitation doesn't even occur to you, when the distance between yourself and someone feels like the only problem in the world, and closing it is the only solution. Tiny feet, total certainty, no fear. And here, pause for a moment here, because this alone should mean something to you. This is Punch, the Punch who once struggled to trust the air he breathed in, the Punch who approached everything with that careful, scanning, please don't hurt me energy, that broke your heart every single time you saw it, running toward someone, with no hesitation, with nothing held back. That is not a small thing. That is the entire journey, compressed into a single movement. All the healing, all the patience, all the slow and painful and beautiful rebuilding, visible in the simple, complete, fearless act of running toward someone you love. But then, something happened that nobody was prepared for, because Punch didn't just run to him, didn't just sit nearby, didn't just make contact and move on, the way animals do when they're comfortable but not desperate. Punch reached for him, tiny hands, finding purchase, his small body leaning in, pressing close, and then, wrapping around him, a hug, an actual, real, deliberate hug, the kind that has intention in it, the kind that says something, that Punch has no other language to say. And for a moment, the whole world around them seemed to forget to make noise. Visitors stopped, not because something unusual was happening in the zoo sense, but because something human was happening, something they recognized from their own lives, from their own arms, from their own moments of finding someone, after a period of not having them, and needing to close that distance completely, because that's what a hug is, really. It's the body saying what words can't carry. I needed you to be here. I am so relieved you are real. Please don't go yet. And Punch, who once found the shape of comfort in a stuffed toy, was saying all of it, with his whole small body, against the one person who had slowly, patiently, without any grand announcement, become his entire understanding of what safety feels like. And then, this is the part that reaches in furthest. Punch didn't let go. After the hug, he stayed. Close, closer than close. His eyes tracking Miyakoshi's movements. His body oriented toward him. The way a compass needle orients toward north. Not because it's trying, just because that's the direction it cannot help but point. When Miyakoshi moved, Punch tracked it. When the distance increased even slightly, something in Punch shifted, that old alertness returning, that faint background worry activating, the quiet animal panic of, wait, where are you going? And you could see it, if you knew what to look for, the way a healed wound can still be tender, the way a rebuilt trust still carries the memory of what it felt like before it existed. Punch knew, in whatever wordless way he knows things, that this feeling, this warmth, this safety, this specific relief of being near this specific person, was not something to take lightly, was not something to drift away from carelessly, was not something he ever wanted to lose again, because he had lost before. His body remembered, and maybe, even on a good day, even on a day full of warmth and reunion and the simple joy of being near someone you love, some part of Punch was already quietly, unconsciously, making sure this was real, making sure it would last, making sure he wouldn't look up and find the warmth gone again. We use the word healing a lot. We talk about Punch's journey, his growth, his progress, and all of it is real, all of it is true. But watching today, watching that hug and what came after it, and the way Punch stayed close with that particular quality of not quite letting go, it reminded us that healing is not a destination. It's not a place you arrive at, and then you're safe forever. Healing is something you carry with you, a process that continues, that sometimes opens back up, around the edges, that asks something of you, again and again, even after you thought you were past the hardest parts. Punch is not the frightened baby he was. That much is undeniable. The monkey who runs toward Miyakoshi without hesitation is not the same monkey who once had no one to run toward. But he is also not untouched. He is also not someone who has forgotten. And maybe that's exactly what makes this so beautiful. He remembers, he carries it, and he chooses, with everything he has, to reach for warmth anyway, to run toward someone anyway, to hold on anyway. That is the bravest thing Punch has ever done. Not surviving the abandonment, though that was enormous. Not learning to trust, though that took everything. But this, choosing every single day to keep the heart open, to keep running toward the person who taught him. That running toward someone doesn't have to end in loss. We remember Orang Mom. We remember what it meant that a baby once needed to hold on to something that couldn't hold him back. And we look at Punch now, arms wrapped around Miyakoshi, body pressed close, refusing just for a little longer to let go. And we understand something that doesn't need a lot of words. He made it, through the loneliness and the fear and the long, slow road, back from a beginning that should have broken him. He made it, not to a place of perfect safety, not to a place where old wounds never ache, but to here, to this, to the moment where a baby monkey who once had nothing to hold, holds on, with everything he has, to someone real, someone warm, someone who came back, again and again and again, until coming back became the whole world, until safety stopped being something Punch had to imagine, and became something he could reach out and touch. Maybe that's everything. Maybe that's the whole story. Tiny monkey, two small arms, and the quiet, earth-moving miracle of finally having someone worth holding on to.